Hello, thank you for joining, everyone. My name is Upasana Javeri. I will be moderating the Curie Vodka Investor webinar today, and we have founder and CEO of Curie Vodka here with us, Jonathan Torgy. So we will get started officially in about the next 2 to 3 minutes. We just want to wait a few minutes for more people to trickle in before we kick things off.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say hi, and I appreciate everyone that's watching this, who's watching the recording. And I want to thank all of our current investors and future investors. You guys are really helping the dream come alive. I really appreciate everything.
Just another minute or two. Thank you for your patience. It's going to be great, though. Very excited.
Me too. Excited to hear some good questions.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, I guess we can go ahead and kick things off. So thank you for joining us today, everyone. And we have with us the founder of Curie Vodka, Jonathan Torgy. And Curie Vodka is super cool. They're actually a Peruvian vodka that is made from quinoa. They're actually one of the only other two quinoa-based vodkas in the world, and very unique in the way that their vodka is created and distilled. They're raising capital right now on Start Engine. They're raising investor funds, and they have already collected around 150,000 in capital raised from 211 people in the crowd that love what they're doing and support their mission and vision. So we're very excited to dive into investor questions today with Jonathan. And Jonathan is the founder and CEO of Curie Vodka. Just a little short background on him. He is a chemical engineer by profession. Technically, he is an American citizen, but he resides in Lima, Peru. And he's actually, for the last couple of years, he has built and developed 3 brands from the ground up, and he's launched them and developed them to the level of Peruvian national distribution, which is, a huge accomplishment. And one of those brands is Curie Vodka. It's a brand that's nationally distributed all over Peru. And it's an award-winning brand as well. It's won multiple awards over the course of the last couple of years. And I will pass the mic over to Jonathan now for some opening words.
Hi, everyone. I said a few moments ago, but I want to say hi. And I really appreciate everyone that's already invested. Everybody's going to invest. And yeah, I'm excited for your questions, and let's get this thing going, huh?
Awesome. Cool. So on that note, want to lay kind of the foundation for this webinar by instead of diving right into investor questions, I thought that I would screen share the campaign page for a second and just play the video clip right here. And then we can get started with the questions. But I think
the spirit of Curie Vodka is the spirit of respect. Respect for the people and land that are responsible for producing the greatest quinoa in the world. Respect for those who will enjoy our fine premium spirits. My name is Jonathan Torgy, and I am the proud founder of Curie Vodka. The process of handcrafting Cordy vodka starts with the world's best quinoa, which we source from one Peruvian family farm nestled high in the Andes of South America. Working directly with one family farm, we assure only the highest quality quinoa is used and that the farmers get fair pay for the dedication of time and love they put into growing this ancient crop. Everything that we do at Cordy Vodka is about respect. We handcraft our vodka in micro batches of 45 gallons. We use 5 different types of yeast during fermentation. We slow distill 3 times, and we use ancient water from the Andean glaciers filtered through volcanic stone as old as time. We ensure every drop that enters our bottle is perfection. We do it this way not because it is easy, but because doing it any other way would not honor those who say with pride that Cordy vodka is their vodka. It is this deep and rich culture that makes it our passion and duty to use the gifts of Pachamama, Mother Earth, to create a product that is produced in the highest quality and socially and environmentally responsible way. We pledge 5% of the profits of every bottle sold to go to helping educate the children of Pachamama in the Andean mountains. While we may enjoy Cordy vodka in the present, we never forget who we are and where we are going. We hope someday you will also call Cordy vodka your
No.
All right, I hope everybody enjoyed that.
Well, people enjoyed
really-
it so much that there's already a question in the chat.
Great.
So, okay. So now that, we've watched the video, I want to open this up with a few questions so basically Curie Vodka has a lead investor called Tyler Crow that has invested over $50,000 into the company. And he started as a lead investor, but actually joined the team now as an advisor as well. So, he obviously is very kind of engaged with the company's operations and their vision and mission. And we actually have a list of some of the questions that Tyler Crow had asked Jonathan prior to putting $50,000 into the business. And so on this webinar, we're going to start by going over a few of those questions from Jonathan's lead investor, and then we can also open it up to questions from you all in the crowd. On that note, let's dive in. So one of the first questions that Jonathan's lead investor, Tyler, had inquired about is, where is your first shipment of product? Is it stateside already, or is it still in Peru?
Yeah, so we have just received our bottles. They're in the port right now. They're in customs. We should have them in the next couple of days. All of the vodka is ready to go for the first sea container. So we're doing a short sea container, which is a 20-foot sea container. It's 10 pallets with something like 700 bottles per pallet. All the vodka is ready to go. It's proofed down. We have been waiting for quite some time for these bottles. There's you can pick up any newspaper anywhere in the world and you can read any day about how bad the shipping issues are globally. So we're at least a month and a half behind due to those global shipping issues, waiting for these bottles. So we've been waiting for them. They are here. They're in the port right now. We should have them in our distillery in the next couple of days, and it's ready to go. So we're going to bottle them probably, hopefully 2 to 3 days, get them palletized, wrapped up, and on another sea container and off to the U.S. So I would suspect shipping times from Peru to the U.S., actually, believe it or not, have not been affected by the global issue. So we're probably talking about 2 weeks to get them to the U.S. So 3 weeks in total will be on the market. And yeah, we have our e-commerce stores up and ready. And so the day those things hit, we're going to be live. So we're good to go. I would say we're three weeks away from entering the market.
Fantastic. And do you have US permits and licenses already for distribution? And if not, then when do you anticipate having those?
Yeah, so we have absolutely everything we need. The US has quite a bit regulations on alcohol, reasonably so. So we have our FDA approval. So the distillery has their approval. We're registered with the FDA. We have our TTB, which is the Tobacco, Alcohol, Firearms Bureau. They can obviously control the alcohol industry in the United States. So we have our COLA, which is our certificate of label approval with them. We have, let's see, we're imported. I have my federal license, import and distribution license, and then what else? Our trademark. So our trademark is it's accepted. It is what's called right now as a last review. So it's on the 20th. So in 4 days it'll be approved, unless there's someone who believes that Cordy Vodka has already been registered in the United States, which I know for sure that it hasn't. So in 4 days we'll have our copyright, or not copyright, our trademark for Cordy Vodka. So we're good to go. There's nothing else that we need.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I know your plan is to begin the rollout of your vodka in California. So, what made you choose the Californian market in particular? And do you have any existing vendor relationships with distributors that you can leverage to
Yes.
reach scale?
So, yeah, we're starting in California. We were originally thinking about Florida. California, we believe, is better as far as the demographics go. Our product is more likely going to be sold slightly more towards women, slightly more towards politically leaning left customers. And we believe that California, especially South California, would really be our market. We believe this because quinoa is, it's a superfood. It's definitely trendy. It's been trending up over the last decade or so. And we're not from the U.S. and we are heavily supporting educating women in Peru, in the Andes, impoverished women. So we believe that our demographic is really going to resonate with people in Southern California. So that's why we're starting.
Awesome. And that obviously this is a quinoa based vodka. So in terms of the taste of the vodka, are there any specific tasting notes from the competitions that you've been in that you feel really resonate or stand out for your vodka brand? And are there any preferred cocktails that you think are most fitting for a quinoa based vodka such as yours?
Yeah, so I get a lot from the investors, and a lot of them really want to get their hands on the product before they invest, which I fully understand. So we're 3 weeks away from that. Where we're at as far as the award. So every contest that we have entered, we've won an award in. So you if you don't get to try it before you invest, that there are professionals out there who have been judging contests for years who believe that we're one of the top vodkas in the world. Our tasting notes is you definitely can taste the quinoa. There's no question about that. So it's got a nice little nutty flavor. It comes off with a little touch of chocolate and citrus as well. And what I found personally, I love it in a Negroni. That's what I really love it in, but it mixes with your traditional screwdrivers or cranberry juice. Mixes really, really well with those. But I found in a Negroni, it really is spot on. So that's what we generally recommend to people.
Awesome. That's great. So we started getting some questions in the chat as well. Mm-hmm. We can address that one and then kind of switch back into this lead investor question list. But one of the attendees here, Perry Corda, is asking, what volume of product can your single family farm support before you need to begin planning for contracting with another farm?
Yeah, so I love this question. I get this a lot. I think that a lot of investors are a bit turned off by the idea that we do source all of our quinoa from one family farm, and they are concerned about how our ability to secure our supply chain. Quinoa is a globally grown grain at this point. My family farm certainly can support us, if everything goes well. Every year is a little different, up to our first 2 years of sales projections. And then afterwards, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of family farms in that valley. I would start working with them first afterwards. And then I would always want to source the quinoa from the Peruvian Andes, but I don't see any situation that there is going to be a supply chain issue or a supply issue of quinoa. It's a globally grown grain at this point. I mean, it's everywhere. It would be asking a baker, they think they can get wheat next week. It's a
Mhm.
non-issue. I mean, it really is. So, but I understand a lot of investors think, I'm sourcing from one family farm. What if that farm has an issue over the winter or their crop doesn't grow properly? It's a good question, but I don't believe that it could. I don't see any chance that the global supply of quinoa will disappear overnight or anything. So,
Awesome. Okay, thank you. We have another question from John Koku who asks, I'm in New York City. Will launching in SoCal versus Miami impact the availability for me to order a bottle?
no, and John Coker's a friend of mine, so we've been talking about this for some good time. So hi, John. Hope you're well. No, there was no issues. Out of Southern California, where our e-commerce is going to be, we can ship to 41 states. So about a year or two ago, it was illegal to sell online. All of the regulations in the United States, I mean, I can't speak to the future, but all the regulations on alcohol are becoming much, much more slack. We still have prohibition era rules and regulations by the TTB, and they are definitely loosening up, I would say, on a daily basis. So now we can ship with FedEx. The US Postal Service, I believe it's in Congress right now that they're going to be able to send alcohol by mail. And then there's a whole handful of other carriers that are able to carry alcohol. The only thing is you got to have a 21-year-old ID when you accept the package. It has to be signed for. But as far as going from Southern California to New York, the only difference might be, from what I've seen, maybe $1 difference in shipping versus Miami. And actually, I would say it's probably the exact same. So, bless you.
Apologies for that. Thank you. Okay, thanks. Our next question is actually by an anonymous attendee that is asking, how big is the market opportunity?
Yeah, that's anything you're going to invest in. As well as the total available market is a great question, right? That's where you want to start with everything. I think I would assume everybody in this chat or Zoom call knows that the alcohol market in the world is enormous. It is absolutely breathtakingly enormous. It is one of the largest industries in the world. I've been focusing most of my efforts and my knowledge base on US market. So I know in the United States annually liquor sales, not beer and wine, just liquor, spirits is $90 billion a year. So it's a big market. Vodka accounts for 33% of that. So you're talking 1/3 of that market. So that's $30 billion is vodka alone. So that would tell me that's my total available market. You can break it down into the premium sector, go down to that, but premium vodka now, I believe, is something like 40% of sales. So it is big business. So the beautiful thing is that we've all seen the craft breweries, craft distilleries exploding over the last 10 years, right? And the reason for that is just because that market is so big, even crumbs of that pie is still a fortune, right? I mean, we're just chipping away at the big boys who have those enormous volumes. You can just chip away and chip away and chip away, and there's a lot of money there to be had for sure. So if you can get any decent market share, you're going to be doing all right.
Awesome, thank you. Perry Corda says, I love the idea of the family farm and won't want to go outside of Peru and that model. It brought me to your brand and pushed me to invest.
Right. Glad to have you.
Awesome. Thanks, Perry. We also have Jerry Elliott that is asking, when will the e-commerce site for Keurig Vodka be up and running?
Yeah, so it's actually up. We just have to get the product to the retailer. So the e-commerce site, there's a retail. It's a little weird just because of alcohol rules in the U.S. So it goes from my distributor or our distributor to the retailer, and then the retailer sells it, even though I'm running the e-commerce site. So when there's an order on the e-commerce site, it goes to the retailer. Retailer ships it out. You have to do this because alcohol regulations in the U.S. require to have that distributor, retailer, final consumer 3-tier system. Our e-commerce site, it's up. It's already built out. Everything's there. Yeah, it's ready to go. We're just waiting for the product to hit the U.S. market, 3 weeks. And I'm telling you, I would suspect after it's in the U.S., 2 or 3 or 4 days before it's on that site. So I would say 3 weeks, be looking for it. You guys are certainly going to be, if you're following us, there will definitely be emails sent out for sure to get our revenue going in the US. And yeah,
So on that note,
there. It's ready to go.
make sure you're following all of Keurig Vodka's social media channels, as well as subscribe to their email list so that you do get those updates when the bottles are ready for shipment and available on the e-commerce side. Is there a site that we can link in the chat for people to be able to go, check it out?
No, so it's not going to be up and running until it's available. So I try to do pre-sales. They're not really allowed just because there's some pretty heavy regulations around it. And the retailer doesn't, they didn't want to participate with that. So we'll be sending out the second it hits, but it's ready and it's there.
Cool. Another question we have is, how does quinoa-based vodka compare to potato-based vodka?
Yeah, so I think that's a pretty good question. And I think you could ask that for all the different vodkas. And I'm not sure, the knowledge of who asked this, but most people, for whatever reason, believe that most vodkas are made from potatoes. It's actually not true. Potato is actually a pretty rare vodka. There's a whole history there. When Napoleon in France, he went to Russia in the war, and when he came back, he brought a bunch of Russian citizens and troops, and they actually wound up producing vodka from potato in France because the wheat was too expensive because they used it for pasta and stuff like that. So there's a whole history there. It's actually really interesting if you guys ever want to look into it. But so anyhow, potato, I do like, there are some good potato vodkas out there for sure. I think one issue that you have with potato is you need really, if you're going to be a good potato vodka, you need heavy equipment. So your capital for startup is huge. There's a reason for that. So potatoes have pectin, and pectinase is the enzyme for a precursor for methanol. So methanol is, if you ever hear the old stories in the 1920 prohibition, if you drink bathtub gin, you'll go blind. It's not the alcohol that we drink, it's methanol. Methanol is a different type of alcohol. It's ethanol has 2 carbons, methanol has 1, but the methanol is produced by pectins and pectinase. Potato vodka has a lot of pectins. So when you ferment it, you wind up getting a decent chunk of methanol. It's really, really hard to remove. So there are definitely good potato vodkas out there. They need to be, a normal distillation column usually has about 20 plates. So that's almost essentially 20 distillations. For a potato vodka to remove all that ethanol, you're going to need something like 42. So unless it's a really, 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 really large company that can afford a really, really expensive still, I found that they often have a little bit of a harsher flavor just because of those congeners that are left over from that pectin. As far as quinoa goes, we haven't had any of those issues. Actually, we have really, really, really low methanol levels. So low that I've had other companies that I've talked to, I told them my numbers and they asked to consult with me on how to get their numbers, their congeners that low. So we, I discussed it a little bit before, but our vodka definitely has a touch of quinoa flavor. It's still definitely subtle, and a good shot in the citrusy notes. I think it's really good. And the judges, every contest we've been in, we won an award. So the professionals think it's pretty good too. So I hope that answers your question. If it didn't, type in and we can keep going.
We actually have kind of a somewhat related follow-up question from Jean-Pierre Beltran, if I'm saying his name correctly. Apologize if not. So basically he says there is one big brand out there already for quinoa-based vodka that has been in the market for a couple of years. What's your differentiator, if any, and how do you plan on competing with them?
Yeah, so I get this question from investors quite a bit. They're called Fair Quinoa Vodka. They have a few other not flavors, liquor, spirits. But what they do is they are a French distillery. They're in France. They import their quinoa from Bolivia, and then they ferment it there, distill it there. our big differentiation, I believe, is that I think that we're more authentic. I think the consumers will see that we're more authentic, that we really work with one family farm, that we're out there with them. We talk to them on a regular basis. They've almost become family. A little side note, but they're, you know, we're really close with them. And I think having the distillery in Peru is really authentic. So I think you know, that authenticity will hopefully drive consumers more towards ours rather than theirs. The other thing is, though, is what I always like to tell people is with that, there's actually something really good about that, right? So you have Fair Quinoa Vodka, who got national distribution throughout the United States. They've gotten distribution, I assume, throughout Europe, since they're from France. They're all throughout the US. What that does do, though, is prove that the US market wants the quinoa-based vodka, right? I mean, that's traction right there. That proves that the market wants it. The other thing is that most investors, I think, that aren't as deeply involved in the alcohol market as I am, don't see is almost every vodka out there, there's tons of them. They're made from 4 different grains, right? So if you have one other one that's made from our grain and they've got national distribution, it proves that the market wants the product, and there's plenty of room for it, trust me. So you look at whiskeys, how many whiskeys? I mean, just think in your head, how many whiskeys are out there in the world? Tens of thousands. They're all made from corn, rye, wheat, barley. I mean, they're all made from the same exact thing. So to say that there's one other quinoa vodka out there in the world, you know, and think that it's a threat, I don't think they're a threat at all. If anything, I think that they help to prove the market. So I think it's good that they're out there.
Awesome. Great answer. So Jean-Pierre Beltran also says, when you are ready for the NYC market, let me know. Since I have friends that are distributors and brand ambassadors that in the industry that can perhaps help out, and with some connections, so he can make some connections for you. So Jean, are you already invested in Curie Vodka? Okay, we don't. Yes, he is. Awesome.
I wrote down his name. I'll find him on LinkedIn, and I'll start up a chat with him.
Perfect. Awesome. Sounds great.
Oh, yeah, he answered. He is.
Yeah, he is.
Glad to have you, John.
So another question we have in here is, what legal risks do you anticipate with the distribution of your vodka?
Legal risks in alcohol. We have an umbrella insurance that covers consumer goods if there's ever an issue. Legal issues. I don't know. I mean, we have all of our legal permits. As long as I do what I'm supposed to do, which means I don't sell directly to the consumer, it has to go through the distributor and the retailer. That's US 3-tier system. I really don't. I mean, as far as legal liabilities, I think as long as I do what I'm supposed to do, and I don't see.
Awesome.
I don't see any. And as long as I keep my insurance in check. Product liability. Oh, sorry. I'm getting another question. You're moderating, not me.
Well, have a stab at it since you brought it up.
Yeah, so I'm seeing, I think it's the same person. They're asking about product liability risk. I think as far as alcohol goes, you know, as long as the product's clean, you know, I think any food could potentially have something that harms somebody in it. Certainly before I send it out, ours is laboratory tested. You know, I don't know. They send back the report. I know what's in the product, and you know, we're certainly making sure that there's no harmful anything in there. Alcohol's been drunk for, you know, thousands of years, so it's, you know, and especially spirits, we remove most of the acetone and the methanol and all those congeners that give you a bad hangover. So, you know, the spirits are actually quite a bit cleaner than other fermented products. So I would say, you know, our liability should be less than beer or wine, but you know, as long as it's tested by the laboratory and it comes up clean, I think we should be in good shape.
Awesome. Thank you. Cool. So if anyone has any further questions, please do put them in the chat. In the meantime, we can switch back to some of those lead investor questions that
We're getting some
Tyler-
more.
Okay, great.
No, I think this is a good question. Exit goal. So there would be two, right? I mean, there is continued operations where once we, you know, we grow to be profitable, and growth maybe slows down probably in a few years. Hopefully not. You share profits, right, and continue to operate normally. The other one would be, of course, to sell to a larger, I suppose, conglomerate. Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly looking at both options. But you know, I think I would probably look to exit somewhere around the fifth year. I mean, it depends on sales and things like that, but you know, usually in alcohol, I have another advisor that I haven't listed on the campaign page. He'll be up. I'm going to update, and he'll be there in a couple of days. But he's been in M&A for probably about 50 M&As, mergers and acquisitions, for Diageo and Edrington and some of the big boys. And he told me most of the exit buyouts are about 50. They're 50% with a 5-year stay on. So if we were to exit in 5 years, let's say we sell to Diageo, what they would say is okay, we're going to hit you with 50% of, you know, whatever the value of the company is now, and then over the next 5 years, you continue working there. You get to, you know, and this is not me, this is all of the investors. You guys certainly get to, you know, get that money as well. And then over 5 years, there's a 5-year buyout, to make sure that you continue growth, continue producing the product the way you want to. And you know, I think that would absolutely be a dream, because then, you know, for 5 years, I get to build the company, which is awesome. You know, that it's a lot of hard work, but it's really enjoyable to see your baby grow. And then the second 5 years, you would have a holding hand from one of the largest corporations in the world, hopefully, you know, that wants to buy you. And I continue to get to grow my own company, and we get to, you know, I get to stay in the operations game, for another 5 years. So it would be like 10 years, and I think it would be great. So what you look for is usually in alcohol, it'd be around 5 years. You see a 50% of the upfront, capital or whatever value of the company, and then the final 5 years is a buyout, earned buyout, I suppose. So that's the dream. That's what we're all shooting for. I think so.
Okay, thank you so much. Cool. So how did you arrive at the price per bottle of 27.50 USD?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I'm still teeter-tottering on that, between that and maybe going up to the full 29. But what I did is my thought was, and I've had a lot of debates with people about this, is, you know, there's two ways to price out a product generally. There's top down and bottom up, right? So my belief is top down. I don't believe you determine the value of your product. I believe that the consumer does. I could set the bottle at $5,000. You know, what is anybody going to buy it? You know, maybe one, right, someday. My belief is you look at the market. Where do you fit in with those guys? So my belief is, you know, we're certainly a premium product. And I also wanted to be able to move volume. I don't want to be teeter-tottering on not selling much, right? I do want to move volume. Volume keeps your cash flow going really well, and, you know, and allows you to grow. So what I looked at is I looked at some of the big world global premium brands, Grey Goose, Belvedere, Stoli. And I said, where do we fit in with them? So my thought is they have an advantage over us without any doubt, that their ability to spend on marketing is astronomical, right? They're spending, God knows what, right? Hundreds of millions of dollars a year. I don't know, 50 million, right? In marketing. So their marketing is off the charts, incredible. What they are lacking, though, it's not really unique anymore, right? Is Grey Goose unique? No one's going to look at a bottle of Belvedere and think that that's unique anymore. So I think that they certainly have the huge advantage over us with marketing, but I think they lack over us in uniqueness. So my idea was I felt that we to the consumer would look right about there. Maybe our brand awareness isn't there, but people see us on the shelf and they'll think, hey, this same price as Grey Goose. It's unique. It's different. I've never had it before. Why not grab this bottle, right? And then once they try the product and go, wow, that's better than Grey Goose. Why am I buying that stuff, right, when I could be drinking this every weekend? So that was really my idea, was to see where I felt that we would fit in the market. And I think that we're around those guys, lacking in marketing dollars, but making up in uniqueness.
Awesome, thank you. So another question that's kind of related to the financial aspects of the business, is what is the expected per unit margin on your product?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for the first shipment, I want to iron out all the wrinkles. So we are going to be around 55% margin. There's two reasons. It's on the lower end. We're buying a smaller amount of bottles. Global shipping right now is a mess. So with that, I bought a smaller amount of bottles. I didn't want to put all the capital up there. I want to prove the market, get a little more traction before we start hitting economies of scale and buying larger amounts of product. The global shipping has really hurt us for the first shipment, right? Once, I wouldn't say really hurt us. It's more than it normally would be. As soon as we start buying full sea container, 40-foot sea container of glass, and the markets, the shipping markets go back to normal, we're going to hit 65% margins right off the bat just from that. And then buying the 40-foot sea containers of glass, our economies of scale start to kick in a little bit. Prices of bottle are going to go down. Everything's going to go down a little bit. So I would suspect by year 2 that we should be pushing 70% gross margin, somewhere around there. So as soon as the shipping, everything gets resolved with that, we're going to go right back up to, we're going to jump 10% margin. And then, and then once we start being able to buy in bulk, we should be hitting around 70% gross margin, which is pretty good, I think, at least from what I've seen. So, and we do have a good advantage. Our glass, even though it's absolutely beautiful, it's really, really nice, and we're getting it for a pretty good price. I worked with some people who went out and sourced for us to find really good factories to make the glass, and their prices came back really quite decent, very well. A lot of the craft for distilleries that you see, they buy most of their glass from either the US or France, and the glass is like almost twice the price. So our margins really kick in with the cost of the bottle and us getting a great price.
Thank you. Cool. So, diving a little bit into future growth aspects of the investment opportunity. So there are a few different ones here that we can get into, but I guess, what is your anticipated timeline to get to 25,000 cases annually?
Yeah, I'm shooting for the 5th year. So right now we're a little bit behind schedule from what I discussed earlier. So originally I planned 2024 to hit that. We're probably going to be 2025 now. What I'm going to need for that is just absolutely brand awareness. There'll be a little bit of growth in operations, needing a little bit larger equipment, but distillery equipment, believe it or not, is not terribly expensive. So as far as operations, I'm not too concerned about having to grow that and needing too much capital. What I am, I guess, the biggest concern would be market awareness and brand awareness. And where does that go? That's from marketing dollars. So a large portion of the capital is going to be going towards marketing dollars and that growth. And how do you get to the 25,000 mark? Operationally, I'm not concerned about it, to be honest with you. What I am concerned about, again, is that brand awareness. We're going to need national distribution. So right now, our distributors in California, New York, Miami, New Jersey, which are the big boys. If you can prove there, you go to an even larger distributor who would be a national distributor, RNDC or Southern Glazers or one of those guys. Once you prove that you have some market, especially in those 3 major ones, New York, New Jersey, Miami, or Florida, and California, once you've proven traction there, you're going to be accepted nationally. So you go to the larger national distributor, they get you rolling out, and then you go from there. You continue to spend money on marketing dollars, and then you incentivize their salespeople. So you wind up paying, whoever sells the most bottles in the country, a trip to Peru, things like that. So you to get you on the shelf is a primary goal, as many places that they possibly can, and even more, right? You want the big accounts, right? There's generally in business is an 80-20 rule. 80% of your revenue is going to come from 20% of your 20% of your clients. So you really want them to get you into the big boys, big accounts, and once you're there, you're going to be okay. So yeah, I mean, that's where it goes. Most of that is marketing. I mean, that's the business we're in, you know, consumer goods, it's marketing, marketing, marketing.
Awesome. So do you envision making future quinoa-based liquors, and would they fall under the Curie label / corporate structure? Also wondering how a quinoa-based whiskey would barrel age.
Yeah, so we're there's two theories on growth of a distillery. There's what's called a house of brands and a branded house. So a branded house would be, let's say, okay, so you have Cordy vodka, then we decide to make Cordy whiskey, then we decide to make Cordy tequila. Believe it or not, there's agave in the Andes, so you know that's been on my wanting to do list. Cordy rum, right? There's plenty of sugarcane in the jungle and stuff like that. So we make you know, this would be a branded house where you have all these different spirits that are produced under the Cordy label. The other theory is if you have a house of brands. So essentially, this company, Cordy Vodka Incorporated, would own Cordy vodka, Cordy flavored vodkas, but then you'd have a different name. So like Peruvian rum or Andean tequila, whatever. Those wouldn't be the names, obviously, they're too generic. But you know, if those were the names, right? So you've got 10 different brands. There's benefits and there's negative to the two of them. If you have the house of brands, your marketing, your growth should be a little faster because you can market your tequila, your rum, your vodka. They can all go under the same marketing dollars. You can have the same Instagram, same Facebook. If you got a billboard, you've got 3 products on there. So your marketing dollars are stretched much farther. And you have the products for your consumers have options. The other one would be the house of brands, right? Again, you'd have different brands, right? So it's not Cordy rum, it's Peruvian rum or Peruvian tequila. The benefit of that is that if you go to exit, right? If Diageo, let's say your rum or your vodka is doing really, really well, you can sell that vodka to a big boy if you want to exit. And you know, and that's pretty easy. But if you have 5 different spirits and they say, oh, we only want the vodka because that's the one that's selling 80%. What do you do with the other ones, right? You don't know. So I'm keeping both options open right now. What I want to do is go from Cordy vodka, and then we're going to move into flavored vodkas. There is a ton of trend in flavored vodka right now. I believe that is trending faster than anything else other than RTDs right now. Is the flavored vodkas are really making a huge comeback. So right now, what I'm actually working on it right now is a Amazonian flavored vodka. So I think we would be the only one in the world who else has access to the Amazon jungle other than our distillery, maybe a few others, but they're certainly not in the US that I know of. So I'm looking for, you know, fruits and barks and all sorts of different stuff that, you know, we can find coming out of the Amazon jungle, and I want to make an Amazonian flavored vodka, and then I would probably go from there and see how that works. So I want to do the vodka lines, and then once we have a few flavored vodkas, I would start thinking, do we want to do a house branded house or the house of brands? I think you would see after about 2 years, you would know, right? If you need a boost in revenue, you probably do a branded house where you're going to come out with different products under the same label. If the vodkas are doing really well, then you can divert some of that revenue to growing a different brand, right? So that you have more under, you know, of course, be under the corporate, you know, our investors would own all these brands. You have different brands, but you definitely need a strong revenue stream, a strong cash inflow to be able to do that. So I think I got way off track with that. Even the question, did I answer that at all, or am I just rambling on a little?
No, that was great. That was a great answer. You went into a lot of detail, which, you know, is what we like. So you're doing amazing. So are there any particular flavors, I guess, that any of you investors or attendees would like to see or have recommendations for? Definitely put them in the chat if there are. If you liked what you heard during this webinar, here's the link to invest in Curie Vodka and their Start Engine campaign. I think, you know, Jonathan and the Curie Vodka team would be very appreciative of all the support for their campaign so that they can continue scaling this amazing brand. And any final questions that anyone wants to put in the chat? Now is the time. Okay, it looks like we do have one. How can we get involved? That's a great question. Jonathan, want to take a shot at that?
That's so that, you know, I get a question a lot is why am I doing an equity crowdfunding campaign versus venture capital, going after an angel investors individually. I really like the equity crowdfunding idea, just because I'm hoping that every one of my investors becomes a brand ambassador. And this, you know, is exactly what we're coming to your question is how do you get involved? You should always ask for it. Any bar you go to, any liquor store. So imagine you go into a liquor store and you want to buy a bottle of whatever, and you go in and you say, do you have Cordy vodka? Okay, so for the first year or so, they're not going to have it, right? As we're growing. Not like, hopefully they will, but you know, it's not likely. But guess what? When I show up or one of my salesmen show up and they say, hey, we got Cordy vodka, and the guy goes, hey, you know, I just had somebody ask about that, you know, and if the customer is asking for it, it's huge, right? It's huge. I don't, I'm going to go to a chemical term, but the activation energy to make that reaction of a sale happen is significantly lowered. So you become the catalyst, right? Sorry, I'm talking chemical terms again. That's all back to my education, but you know, you become a catalyst for the company, right? You lower this ability, you make it much easier for us to sell the product. When you go into restaurants, bars, you ask for the product and have it, great, but they don't, when they hear about us, or maybe even the bartender goes home and says, what the hell is Cordy vodka? I've never heard of that, right? And he's on Instagram the next day and he looks us up and he goes, hey man, that's a cool product. Wow, Q1 vodka. Go to his bar manager. We need this, right? This is cool. Nobody else in whatever town they're in Idaho or wherever they are, nobody else has this. We want to be the one that has it first. Let's get it, right? And all of that came from one of our investors, one of you guys asking. I mean, really just asking for it. And then other than that, any connections you have would be great. You know, if you know anybody that has liquor stores, distributors, anybody in the game, talk to them about it, see what we can do. And then I think another huge thing would be if you know anybody that wants to invest. I mean, that's capital in this game is huge, right? If you can get your friends to invest, we're better off. You as the investor are better off. The company is better off. Every dollar capital that we can put towards marketing, it doesn't necessarily make or break our success, but it certainly is going to allow us to grow faster, right? If you know another $5,000, $10,000 in the bank, that goes to marketing. That's growth, right? You got to 10x on that. That's $100,000 of growth in revenue for our company. We're profitable, and you just grow faster, right? And the company valuation goes up. We're all doing better. So I think those three things that you definitely can do to help us out for sure.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So just to recap, invest, obviously, you know, we'd love your investment. Follow Curie Vodka on all social media channels, subscribe to their email list, and share with as many friends and family members as possible to help endorse the brand and bring more people to the Raise. On that note, we thank you all so much for joining the webinar today, and you know, there will be more to come. So if you have any questions, definitely save them up for the next one. And Jonathan, do you have any closing words for the attendees?
Thank you guys for coming. I mean, I'll be honest, it's the first webinar I've ever done, so I was a little nervous coming in. I think it went really well. I think we had a lot of really good questions, and I don't know, I really appreciate you guys investing and, you know, and participating, you know, I mean, being part of the company, you know, with the equity crowdfunding, everybody is a part of the team now. You know, you guys are going to become our Cordy Vodka family, right? So I appreciate it. I really do.
Fantastic. Okay, on that note, happy Friday, everyone. Make sure you
go have some vodka cocktails.
Yes, go drink some vodka now. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, and do make sure that you go in and, you know, invest in the campaign if you like what you heard today. And have a fantastic weekend, and we hope to see you all very soon in the next couple of weeks.
Yep. Ciao, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.